Welcome to Building the Future. I'm your host, Kevin Horick. You can find the show online at buildingthefutureshow.com or follow me on Twitter at BuildingShow. You can also find it on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. Welcome to the show. Today we have Robert Kohler. He's a restaurant owner, partner at Kohler Law, an entrepreneur, and investor. Robert, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. And thank you for having me on the show.
No problem. I'm glad to have you on the show. It's nice to record people that I've actually got to meet in person. We spent some time at your restaurant in San Francisco.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, yep, that was good. We had appetizers and a couple of beers, and it was good meeting you as well. So, really enjoyed it. So, yeah.
Awesome. So let's maybe start off kind of just a little bit of your background, where you grew up and, if you're from San Francisco originally or whatnot.
No, I'm actually, I'm from Detroit, but most of my formative years were in Salt Lake City, Utah, but I just don't like to say that because it's not really as cool as going, yeah, I'm from Detroit, yo. So I usually say I'm from Detroit.
Sure,
but really I grew up in Salt Lake, and I went to elementary school and junior high, and went to University of Utah in Salt Lake City. So that's where I'm from. But yeah, again, you get more street cred from saying you're from Detroit.
For sure.
So that's where, yeah.
So then, how did you make your way out of California?
I was in Salt Lake, graduated from University of Utah. And it was like, okay, what do I do next? Do I get an MBA or a JD or go to medical school? Okay, medical school is probably out because that's too long for me. And so the JD made sense, and that's how I came out. And I literally applied for law school like last minute. Didn't really plan on it, didn't really have any idea that was what I was going to do. But did that and went to McGeorge in Sacramento. And I mean, it's been the path that I went there has been great because as an entrepreneur, having a legal background is really good. So, that's how I came out, and literally just packed up Chevy, what was it? Some crappy old car, and I drove over from Tahoe and parked in front of McGeorge, and because I just got there. So anyway, that's how I ended up in California, and from there, so I graduated, and then I got an internship at a big Century City law firm. After the first year of law school and the second year of law school, I was offered a job there. And so I lived in LA for a while.
Okay.
In West LA, and then worked there for a while, and then you know what, I'm not really into the big law firm kind of stuff. And so then I got a job at a software company as in-house counsel, and in LA as well.
Sure.
And the owner it was Les Crane, who actually was, I guess, in the 50s. He did Desiderata. He spoke that. It was kind of spoken word kind of thing, which is really popular. Really, he was a really cool guy. But he wanted to live in Tiburon. So we moved the whole company from LA to Marin County. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And, I mean, and LA is LA. I mean, I'm not an LA hater, but I thought, but I do like the Bay Area more. So I'm like, okay, cool, that's really awesome. So we moved the whole company, the Software Toolworks, up to Marin County. And, and then from there, I lived in Mill Valley for a while. Mill Valley is in Marin County, just north of Sausalito.
Okay.
And then I bought a warehouse what was a warehouse in San Francisco, in the Mission District, which is now it's blown up. It's like the most popular area ever. And I scraped it, so tore it down and built a house there.
Oh, wow.
And here I am. So, yeah.
So you never really planned on being in the Bay Area. You just kind of happened to get the whole company moved, right?
Yeah, it was just, you know what, like, kind of one thing leads to another.
Sure.
No, I did not plan on it. It was just, I mean, in some ways it was just fortuity. So,
Sure.
yeah. So, man, once I got here, I'm like, oh my God, this is my new home. I mean, there are just brilliant people,
Sure.
Creative people, and freaks. I love it. So,
yeah, no, that's
yeah.
awesome. San Francisco definitely has a very cool vibe. I've been there a few times now, and I would love. I'll be back for sure multiple times throughout my lifetime. It's fun, and there's always something to do, something to see. And you're right, like the vibe's pretty cool. And what I like about California is you can go to different places, even like 30 minutes from each other, and it's a totally different vibe, totally different scene. That's always kind of fascinated me about California, and the scenes are different, right, between like Northern and Southern California. So, yeah, it's always interesting and it's fun.
Yeah, it is. And so, since basically, as I said, my formative years were in Salt Lake City. The reason we moved there was my dad was a big skier. He was a ski patrol for Park City. So,
Okay.
I mean, I grew up skiing and racing. And the fact that I'm 3 hours away from, or 3.5 hours away from Tahoe and Squaw Valley, which is my favorite, because it's like the shoots and it's pretty hardcore, and it's fantastic. So I can be in Silicon Valley one day, I can be in San Francisco the next, and then I can just jump in the car and jam to Tahoe, and just some really gnarly stuff. I mean, if it snows again, it hasn't snowed for a while. So.
Sure.
Well, if it ever does, then yeah.
That's the running joke in California. You can ski and go surfing in the same day.
Yeah, exactly. and windsurf and whatever. Yeah, exactly. And also, right. And then go across the other side of the lake and go gamble in Reno. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Basically
It's just a big playground, right?
It's totally a big playground. Yeah, it is. But it's also, I mean, the people, the personalities, and are really. Yeah, there's a lot of driven. There's a lot of there's so much that what I really appreciated first and foremost was the the drive and the intuition and just the intelligence, and also with the a little bit of kind of weirdness added too. I mean, in terms of just we're gonna do something disruptive.
Sure.
So yeah, that's like the most appealing thing. So, I mean, I work with companies all over the place, and there's what I just described that exists everywhere. But just surrounding yourself with that I think it's a huge motivating factor to really sort of create and offer a service or a product that is that's a little bit different. And so I love the Bay Area for that reason.
So I'm curious then, you were working for all these law firms and whatnot. When did you actually start Kohler Law?
Well, 15 years ago. So,
okay.
So after I left Software Toolworks, so first of all, I lasted at the big firm I worked for a year because I was just told that's what you're supposed to do. Last for a year so it doesn't look like you're jumping around.
Sure.
Then I got a job as in-house counsel for Software Toolworks, which became Mindscape. And I still, as sort of a kind of renegade, I was like, okay, but I kind of want to work for myself. So just out of basically out of my apartment, started Kohler Law Group, and just started getting some high-tech companies, and that just, it went well.
So did you reach out to like past connections that you've had, or kind of how did you kind of get your first few clients for that?
It was cold calling.
Really?
Literally just cold calling, and just going at such low hourly fee. It was ridiculous, but at the same time, I got some great clients.
Sure.
And from there, just sort of leveraged off that, and now Kohler Law Group has it ranges from 2-person startups to Marketo, Splunk, Facebook. So,
oh wow, some big names.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I mean, you know what? Normally we're with those three, Marketo, Splunk, and Facebook. They were clients pre-IPO. And we still do overflow work for them, but really when we did a lot of work for them, that was when they were still public.
Sure.
And so we were quasi in-house counsel.
Okay.
So our model is so all my attorneys have at least 15 to 20 years experience. They've been general counsel previously. We're a virtual firm. They want to work from home. They want to be there when their kids come home from school.
Sure.
But they'll still be there until they'll be up and working on a contract until 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning.
Right.
Quarter end. So it's a really efficient model. And so primarily what we do is we work with funded companies. They typically use a big firm like a Wilson or Cooley or Oric, and for financing and M&A, which is great. We're not trying to displace them. When it comes to day-to-day, if they save 50% and they're using the same attorney that knows their business model, that knows their appetite for risk, that knows their contracts, everything, and at a fraction of the cost. So it's a really efficient model. So it works great for my attorneys, and that's why I get great attorneys, because they're like, oh my God, I don't have to drive 60 minutes
Sure.
to to a firm or a company, and I have great clients, and I get paid well, and the clients love it because they're like, oh wow, this is less than an associate.
Sure.
In a firm. So it's a win-win model. So.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome, and that's a really interesting model. I love the idea of just not having to go to an office every day. I get outside of the valley, it's probably most lawyers have to go into an office today, and like you said, commute maybe an hour each way, and that can be time-consuming when you have a family and you want to spend time with them. No, I think that's awesome. Yeah. You're an entrepreneur, like you mentioned. You guys do a lot of stuff with startups, from investing and that kind of thing, or how does that kind of work?
Well, as a law firm, no. I mean, I'm personally an angel investor as well, and I also advise companies as well. So I personally angel invest, but really the profile of Kohler Law clients, because it's before they have general counsel in-house.
Right.
And if they have in-house general counsel, we still work with them, and it's overflow work. But really where we add value is where we're quasi in-house counsel. So,
okay. So do you invest in any of the firms that you guys do legal work for?
You know what? I don't, because I don't want to have any sort of I don't want to have any conflicts of interest like that, or even questionable like that. So I just I take equity in companies where I advise them, and it's not advising them as legal counsel. It's advising them the business side because of my experience on working with internet companies and technology companies, ranging from game development to C2C to B2C.
Sure.
So I've been around. I've been around. I know my way around that. So
when you say you advise companies, what do you look for when somebody comes to you and says, I have this company, or this idea? Well, you would be an advisor. What makes you kind of say yes, and what makes you kind of say no, not really interested?
You know what? It's quite honestly, it's just personality.
Really?
And also, it's sort of like, just my sort of gut feeling on do I think that's a good thing. So I don't go through a checklist. So like I'm advising an encryption company right now.
Okay.
And I've never really been in that space before. But I've known the guy, the founder. He's worked with NSA previously. Super geeky, brilliant guy. And and see the product and I see how the application works. I mean, it's you can encrypt everything on Facebook, Gmail, Yahoo Mail, blah blah blah, anything, Salesforce, etc. So anything web-based, you could just encrypt it. I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense, So I've known the guy for 15 years.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I'm like, I'll definitely, just do like an equity deal, that just vests, and cause this is really interesting to me too.
So you invest some time and some money as well?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I do.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Mainly, it's time, and it's also just I got a huge number of contacts because I've been in the technology world because I've been doing it for so long. So
sure.
I can reach out to people and try to create some basically just do biz dev as well. I've worked with, oh my gosh, there's been too many companies to name, but I know people everywhere. So it's just good because I can get into companies. So reach out to decision makers within companies very, very quickly because I know.
Sure. No, that's awesome. It's super important to have those connections. That's what people that are looking to get an advisor, and that's partly why they get it, right? Is so they can almost use your connection. That's awesome.
Oh that's totally it. Yeah, it's not so much advising as much as it's like, okay, get me into Disney, get me into CBS, get me into blah blah blah, or whomever, Qualcomm. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I really don't need an advisor. I need a good connection, okay? So make an intro, chop, and okay, we can do that.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm curious. You've done your own startups in the past, like Castfire. You sold. Do you maybe want to tell the listeners a little bit about how you came up with the idea for it, what it is, and kind of how you ended up selling it?
Yeah. So Castfire, we started off actually as a podcast.
Really?
Platform. It was just an audio podcast company, and sort of looked around and saw other companies that were doing platform companies and said, well, we're going to add video to it as well. So it was a bootstrap company. We turned down VC funding.
Why was that? Just out of curiosity.
Because the terms were, in hindsight, I think should have probably taken VC money, but it was just, the valuations were just too low, and the equity they're looking for was just seemed, for me and my other co-founders, it was like, that's just a little bit real heavy-handed. So
sure.
We're going to go ahead and just keep doing what we're doing. At that point, we had clients like AOL and Disney, ESPN, CBS, and so we're doing great, but would have accelerated growth. So in hindsight, I think I should have like taken money because it was kind of a struggle. I mean, we got out and it was, exited it. That's fine. It wasn't retirement win, but it was fun. But I think that having had more money, and rather than just saying like, you know what, we're worth more than that, and we're going to go ahead and just build this organically, or unless we get a bigger offer or some sort of acquisition, would have been, I don't know. I mean, I think that would have been a better way to go. But I mean, it still worked out. It worked out, and I founded it. We ran it. We had marquee clients, and exited positively. So it's great, but could have been greater.
How many years did you run it before you guys got acquired, and how many employees did you have when you did end up selling?
So we had about 7. We had 7 employees approximately, including some contractors. We used a lot of, we offshored quite a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and which was really efficient. I mean, it's a little difficult because you have to like be so detailed with the engineers about exactly what you're looking for, etc. And the graphic, and not using like UX, that's not what you want to do with them. So that's going to be U.S. Or North American. But I mean, we had some really smart Chinese, Russian, and developers that were, they were totally long-term, great. So that was kind of the motto. We were sort of lean and mean, and the platform was great, and it was solid. And again, we have our clients. We have the big clients. It was solid. It never crashed. And so we were working with EdgeCast, which was our EdgeCast was actually serving all our video, and we were doing a ton of terabytes and terabytes, and they were great. And so it was good. I mean, so we had some great partners as well. So yeah, so that was it. And to exit, it was sort of, I think the 3 founders, myself, Brian, and Christoph, were sort of like, okay, we've been working really hard at this, and let's find an acquisition, and we did. So we got out. But it was good. But it wasn't an easy road. I mean, it was a lot of work. So as every startup is. So, yeah. And then, yeah.
So I'm curious then, were you doing the law stuff as well, or was this kind of before?
I was.
So how did you balance both?
Well, okay. So the reason, I mean, yeah, that's a good question. You know what? So I actually, the 3 companies that I founded and sold, in the interim from starting Kohler Law Group to now, that was my focus, because I'm sort of like an internet entrepreneur. I like the sparkly internet stuff, so that's what I'm attracted to. And Kohler Law Group has just managed to continue to go. So after selling Castfire, I'm like, you know what? I probably should pay more attention to this, because I haven't, but it's done so well, and it continues to thrive. So it's the model works. So yeah, I mean, I hire really good attorneys, and I'm still involved, but I was mainly focused on raising venture capital, running the company, and trying to find an exit or selling it, etc. So, but Kohler Law Group it kind of runs itself. So,
okay, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I have a great accounting manager, Kathy, who I've worked with for sort of, she's almost like the ops manager, but so she, kind of runs everything. So, I do biz dev and I do sort of client development, but Patsy is, she's there for the day-to-day stuff and, reaching out to slow-paying clients and paying attorneys and blah, 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 everything else that's required. So,
sure.
Yeah, that's kind of,
And then I'm curious, you founded another company, Global Bridges. Do you want to maybe cover that a little bit and talk about kind of what that was all about?
Yeah. So, Global Bridges was actually, so it was a really early web-based email company. So, like right when there was Rocket Mail and Hotmail.
Right. I remember that.
So, yeah, exactly. That was way, way, way old school ago. But it was, so I acquired, so I was actually working with a couple of engineers based in Santa Cruz and saw their technology, and I'm like, you know what, let's kind of do something together. So we created a partnership and created a white label web-based email platform that we then licensed to various companies. So, it's just they get some more traction with their customers. They come back, etc. So it was great. I mean, back then there was really Rocket Mail and Hotmail.
Yeah.
And then Bridges, it was called Sitemail.
Okay.
And then sold it to a company called Zoom. And so sold her Zoom just before they went public. So I worked with the founders of Zoom, Chris Kitsey and Laurent Massa. So we took the company public, and they wanted to have a part of their their offering as well. So did that, and worked with them through the IPO, through their secondary, and I'm still good friends with everyone there. So that's how it came about. And actually, so Global Bridges was super early, web-based email platform.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I love hearing about companies or products that, I used early on in kind of the internet days.
Well, Global Bridges actually started out too as Dream Fabrication, which was started out with a video game development company. So,
really?
So, but I transformed it into, once I saw this technology, I'm like, doing this whole game stuff and flying down to LA every other week to meet with studios and to meet with people and try to pitch them on, treatments, etc. This is probably not. I think I'm gonna do better if I just do a deal on this web-based email. So sort of switched it over.
That's hilarious.
That happens,
So did you put out any games under the company, or you just didn't get that far?
Well, we did. Yeah, we did treatments for Hasbro.
Oh wow!
And for Warner Brothers and things like that. But we weren't really the developers. I just had really a bunch of creative people that worked for me.
Right.
And they just wrote the treatments. And I think games, big part of games is not just having just a shoot 'em up kind of thing, but you have to have there's got to be a story behind it too.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's sort of what we did. So we sold to Warner Brothers and Hasbro and a number of others. So, but it just wasn't. I didn't see the potential that it was going to blow up like that. So I'm like, I'm going to bounce and head over to this other technology. So, so that's what I did. And, and then I also had a company, Mr. Swap.
What was it called, sorry?
It's called Mr. Swap.
Okay.
MrSwap.com. Yeah. And so we raised, a decent amount of venture. Basically, it was a C2C platform, so that people could say, all right, I've watched this DVD so many times, or I've played this game so many times. How do I want to get money for it. I want to get value for it. So it was just a point-based system where someone could get, you would ship it to somebody else, and then you would have these points that you could acquire a different game or DVD. So that was good, but that was right around the crash time. So we sold that to GameSpot, which was acquired by CNET.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so but it was a great model, and what we did is we would basically facilitate the shipping. So we would send you the mailer with the mailer to the recipient. So it was easy to done, and it was very inexpensive. So, and then you get points, so you could go ahead and buy the next game. So that was
okay. So, but then how did you guys make money from that?
off the shipping.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And we never really did make money. I mean, this was a startup. So,
right.
but still, I think the margins were like 30%. This was a while ago. So I think the margins were 30%. And we were using Fingerhut
right.
as the, to actually do the shipping for the packaging, etc. So, but we never really got to scale where we made money. So, but it was what it was. And,
yeah, live and learn, right?
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So, yeah, I know. Some, I've got, some of my startups were good, some were bad, and some were ugly. And that's just kind of how it goes. So, yeah. So that's kind of that. And
yeah, it's interesting to hear honest stories of the good and bad. It's not all overnight success.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I put in so much time, and I put in so much time, and meeting so many people, and going out to so many meetups, and just spending so much time with engineers and with graphic designers and that, and it's all over, kind of all over the map. So. So right now I'm sort of like just putting my chips around, and so I've got a new mobile app that I'm working on, and I have a couple doing the restaurants and the hotel. And
whoa. Okay, let's back up a little bit. I'm curious. I want to know kind of about the restaurant and the hotel. So do you want to start maybe restaurant first, and then we can kind of go through these things? So how did you get into the restaurant business?
Well, so part of my social network, I mean, I get big social network. And there were, I got like 4 or 5 friends, and they're all from the hospitality industry.
Okay.
And they're all just whining about how much they hated working where they were working and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'm not really interested in being a restaurateur, but why don't we just look around and see if we can find a property? And what if it works? Then you guys quit your shitty jobs, or have a job, So then we could do this. And found in sort of an undervalued property in Hughes Valley in San Francisco.
Okay.
And we're like, wow, this is a pretty good deal. Let's go ahead and let's do something with it. And so just raised a little money, and then I put in money, and all the other guys put in a little bit of money.
Right.
And so I'm an non-operating partner, and so I love it. like, wow, it must be hard to own a restaurant. Well, it's not really for me because I just go in there for appetizers and cocktails. So it's great.
That's actually where we met up.
Wonderful.
We had lunch at Sauce. It was really good.
Exactly,
it was awesome.
Exactly. That's great. Well, thank you very much. Yeah. So the first Sauce is in Hayes Valley. So got that, and at that point it was like we were just totally, we're just starting. Just got this. This was the first restaurant. So we had probably had 20 or 30 friends come in for 2 or 3 weeks, and just totally rehab it. I mean, paint it, fix it up, and help us with it. It was great. And so it did really, really well. And it's doing really well. And then the building went for sale, and we bought it. And upstairs it was just like when I say a hotel, it's just an 8-person boutique, little urban, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. So we turned that around because it used to be sort of a bed and breakfasty kind of thing.
Okay.
But we were able to, buy the building, so it's great. So we own the building in Hayes Valley, and then afterwards, and the place that you and I met was in Belden Place, which is the financial district. Did that. In the interim, actually, we bought a nightclub, but all my partners who actually do the work, they all kind of got married and had babies in the interim, and they're like, you know what, staying up till 4 a.m. now and closing down is not cool. So
Fair
we
enough.
sold that, but it was a good investment. So yeah, that's how it started. It was just sort of going like, hey, you guys, I think, you know what, rather than bitching so much, let's look around for something, that's actually going to make you feel good and sort of ownership about it. So that's how it started.
No, that's awesome. That's really cool. I love stories like that, especially when you get your friends involved and stuff like that, and you partner with people that are just kind of tired of doing their own or working for other people, and want to start their own thing. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been and it's been really good. I think everyone's really happy about it too. So
Sure.
yeah, it's great. So Sauce is doing really well, and you were the one in the financial district, the Hayes Valley is. Right by the opera, the symphony, and the ballet, and so people love it. So,
I'll post links to the site and your law site and a few other things in the show notes, so people can go to the website at buildingthefutureshow.com, and you can click on the links to go to these places, just so you don't have to remember them right now. But
yeah,
I'll post them. Cool. Yeah, so you mentioned you're working on a app right now. Do you want to talk more about that, or is it kind of coming in the future, that kind of thing?
Well, it's not even a minimal viable product yet. It's sort of a proof of concept, but essentially, and I don't want to share too many details.
Sure.
But still, it's in the rental space. So I started. So I have an in-law unit in my home.
Okay.
And so I started, renting out and Airbnb, Home Away, VRBO, stuff like that. And it's great. I mean, oh my God, I'm killing it.
Really?
It's insane. Yeah, Jesus, it's insane. But at the same time, I'm traveling all the time, and I got so many ventures going. To keep track of everything and keep tracking, and I use a thing called Resort Lock, where I have to send out a passcode to the guests to come in, check in at noon, let's say on Monday, check out at 3 p.m. on Friday, and then have my housekeepers come in at 4 p.m. on Friday to clean up for the next person. And my occupancy is like 90%.
Oh, wow. Holy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's insane. It's kind of free money. But it's a pain. I'm like, okay, so I want to sort of make that more sort of automated. And there are services like Guesty and Pillow, but they don't really, I don't know,
they're not what you need.
To use Guesty. Yeah, exactly. I want something like simple. I just want it no-brainer, simple, dumb it down, and I want you to just basically, as long as I accept this person, if I look at their reviews and they have good reviews, boom, and then everything else is done. That's it. So
Right.
it's a very, very simple sort of application, and I'm really just building it for myself, to be honest.
Sure.
I'm lazy and I'm traveling a lot, so it's like I want to do this myself. And if I can somehow, monetize this, great. If I can't, I spent $2,500.
Oh, that's not bad at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. So yeah.
So are you building it Android, iOS, or just iOS?
Yeah, it'll be built in web and then just wrapped in iOS. And
I got
Android.
you. Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool. So we're coming to the end of the show, but I'm curious to know if you have any advice, kind of do's and don'ts for people out there, either if you're an aspiring lawyer or you are a lawyer, investor, founder, you've done so many different things. Did you have any good advice for people out there?
Let's see. Not really, actually, because I think a lot of things it's just very intuitive, it's really difficult to define and but my successes have come from sort of just like this gut feeling. So that's really bad. I mean, it doesn't really mean anything to anyone. But that's where things have come from. I'm not I'm not going to scrub a spreadsheet, and I'm just sort of like, God, I'm working with a guy right now who's got this consignment automobile and vehicle thing, and he's a total cool guy. I mean, he's in chemotherapy. He's like 70.
Oh wow.
In Florida. But he's super. God, we've had so many good discussions. He just seems like a cool guy. So I don't know.
I think that the follow your gut thing is really good advice, actually. Well, for me at least, pretty much every career decision I've ever made, either whether it was taking something or going for something or turning something down, it was always been following my gut. Even with the show, I was like, well, yeah, let's go for it. I think that actually is really good advice. In some cases, if it seems too good to be true or you have a weird feeling about it, don't go for it. But if it feels right, then go for it and try it. And it doesn't really matter if you fail. Just pick yourself back up and try again.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly.
So,
yep.
No, that's great advice. I guess if people want to check you out, you can go to Kohler-law.com, sf.com. You're on Twitter at Kohler Law, and your personal Twitter is Robert RK. And I'll post these online at the website, and you can check Robert out there. But thanks for being on the show. This has been awesome, and really looking forward to keeping in touch with you. And if I'm ever in San Francisco again, we should hook up again for lunch.
Absolutely. Well, next time it will be appetizers and cocktails. So that's, but thank you very much for having me on the show. I appreciate it, and it was a pleasure speaking with you. But so next time you're down here, and perhaps I'll visit you and ask for reciprocation. So.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. You could go hit the mountains. I'm about three hours away from one, and 5 hours from another, and you can go snowboard or ski in the mountains. It's pretty incredible in the Rockies.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. All right, cool. All right, that sounds great. All right, Kevin. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and appreciate the opportunity to be on the show. So that's been great.
Thanks again. This has been awesome.
Thanks for listening. You can visit past shows at buildingthefutureshow.com. If you're going to the Startup Expo on February 16th and 17th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and want to record an episode, please contact me. The music for the show is by Electric Mantra. Check them out at electricmantra.com. Until next time, keep building the future.